dynamic pianist, a musical kaleidoscope sparkling at everything he plays. His virtuosity and remarkable gift for improvisation have delighted audience throughout the country, including Carnegie Hall, as well as England, France, Spain, Germany, Poland, Switzerland, Caribbean, and South America. I think I'm just going to start following you around, Don. So, Ashley, if you will.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we are grateful for this time together with our Rotary friends. Guide us each in our role in strengthening our community through our time, talents, and leadership. Help us stay mindful of the needs of those around us and willing to step forward with generosity and purpose. Guide us to be mindful, grateful, and giving in all we do, and may our actions reflect the true spirit of service above self. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Corey Nickerson, I would say just that music was worth the trip by itself. Got a little Rotary DNA for you today. Tina did some great research on this. Going back to 1963, as today, the world was deeply divided, but Rotary chose connection over conflict. That spirit came to life in March of 1963 when the 9 Magic Empire Rotary clubs that were in Oklahoma united for one of the most ambitious World Understanding Week celebrations in the history of Rotary International. Serving the greater Tulsa area, these 9 Magic Empire Rotary clubs embodied Rotary's mission to promote peace and prevent conflict through understanding, service, and global relationships, demonstrating the power of Rotary worldwide working as one. Now, World Understanding Week, it was proclaimed in 1963 by Rotary International President Nitzish Lahari, who called on Rotarians worldwide to recognize the oneness of mankind and extend fellowship beyond Rotary into the broader community. He encouraged clubs to build connections across borders and share those stories at home. As you might expect, Tulsa answered that call. Under Rotary Club of Tulsa president that year, Hansel Johnson's leadership, the program exceeded expectations. It engaged churches, schools, other civic groups, and local media in a citywide celebration of international friendship. Now think about 1963. In the spring of 1963, Tulsa was just a couple months away from opening Tulsa International Airport. Tulsa International Airport was built because of Tulsa's status, growing status as an international city. In fact, the oil capital of the world. So there was some international fervor already in our community because of that. A highlight of that World Understanding Week came this very week in 1963 on March the 20th at the Mayo Hotel, where a gentleman named Ambassador de Lesseps Morrison with the Organization of American States addressed a capacity crowd for a Rotary meeting. Mayor James Maxwell presented this gentleman with a key to the city, and later that afternoon, Ambassador Morrison spoke at immigration and naturalization citizenship ceremonies here in town, underscoring Rotary's commitment to global citizenship and peace building. At a community reception following that, Rotary Club of Tulsa appeared for the first time in a downtown Tulsa parade. There was a public exhibit about Rotary International in the display windows at the Palace Clothiers Building, which was then located at 4th and Main, and it highlighted Rotary's global impact. Now, keeping our speaker today in mind, who was this fella de Lesseps Morrison, and who named him de Lesseps in the first place? He came to Tulsa in 1963 for that meeting as a John F. Kennedy appointed ambassador to the Organization of American States. That was a precursor to what today is NAFTA, which was a trade area between North, South, and Central America, that Organization of American States. Like our current governor, Morrison entered executive office as a political outsider and successful entrepreneur. Morrison was elected mayor of the city of New Orleans in 1946 at the age of 34 years old, and he served in that role for 15 years. We all know that Governor Stitt has won 2 successful terms as our governor, having held no prior political office, but having lots of successful executive experience. Like Governor Stitt, Morrison was an infrastructure visionary. During his time in New Orleans, he modernized that city with massive expressway and infrastructure projects, just as Kevin has prioritized long-term infrastructure and Build Act initiatives to position Oklahoma as a top 10 state in global trade and logistics. And lastly, Morrison and Stitt represent their communities. Morrison in New Orleans, and Governor Stitt in the state of Oklahoma in engaging international trade partners to bring economic and cultural trade benefits to those communities. Well, during that week of March 20th, Rotary International was watching the Rotary Clubs of Tulsa and the Magic Empire, and they saw that we responded with energy, unity, and purpose. It's as true today as it was in 1963. Let us all do our part to advance international understanding and through it, peace. Our Rotarian of the day today is Chuck Wilson. I think it's safe to describe Chuck as a dedicated member of our club, and he's been so for 38 years. He's a Paul Harris Fellow, a Club Foundation Fellow, and a past president. He's also a multiple Rotary Club of Tulsa award winner, receiving the James G. Sade Service Above Self Award, and then some, as well as the Rotarian of the Year Award in 2018, 2019. Please join me in welcoming past President Chuck Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. The Honorable Kevin Stitt was elected governor of Oklahoma in 2018 by a margin of 54 to 42. He was then re-elected in 2022 with a margin of 56 to 42. Before announcing a run for office, most of Mr. Stitt's advice was don't run. You have a successful business. You have a beautiful family rooted in the Tulsa community, and you are impacting many lives in a positive way. Nevertheless, Mr. Stitt was inaugurated on January 14th, 2019 as the 28th governor of the state of Oklahoma. I shall not attempt to present his resume or list of achievements, but it is worthy to note that Governor Stitt is chair of the National Governors Association. Now, for this part of the introduction, and with the governor's permission, I will refer to him as my friend Kevin. My wife Charlotte and I met Kevin in the summer of 1994 when he recruited our son to join him in selling books door to door for Southwestern Publishing during their summers in college, and they were quite successful together. In 1997, Kevin and I entered the mortgage business together. I was made the manager only because I was older than Kevin, because neither one of us even knew there was a T in mortgage, much less much about the business. But our business grew quickly, and Kevin came to me and said he wanted to start his own mortgage company. I said, but Kevin, you don't have any money. And Kevin, now famously, replied, but I have $1,000. Needless to say, Kevin did not only started a mortgage company, but grew Gateway Mortgage into one of the largest in the U.S., with assets over $2 billion and more than 1,000 employees. Governor, thank goodness you did not listen to that advice you received. Thanks to you, Sarah, and your family for your commitment to our state. Speaking on the American Dream in Oklahoma, will you please join me in showing our appreciation to Governor Stitt for his service?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Man, it's so good to be back in T-Town with all of my friends. I recognize and know many of you out there. And then also, I've got some family members here. And so my mom and dad are here, been married. They'll be 60 years this October. And then I also have another special guest that I'll be in big trouble. My older brother likes to go by first brother, so there he is right there. But I'll tell you, I don't know if you saw the press conference in Oklahoma City yesterday morning, but I think we hit a home run with Tulsa's Alan Armstrong to be the next U.S. Senator in Oklahoma. And me and Alan flew to D.C. as soon as that press conference was over. So I was in D.C., watched him get sworn in as the U.S. Senator from Oklahoma. And then he had Senator Thune put him right to work. He had 5 votes yesterday on the floor. So we put him right to work. He's still in D.C. But, you know, I think the reason I chose Alan is I went to D.C., I met with President Trump, I met with the Senate leadership, and I said, what do you guys need? This is going to be an interim appointment for about a year, and permitting reform was something that we think will move the country forward. And so there's not a bigger champion for permitting reform that understands these issues like Alan Armstrong, who, by the way, was the CEO of Williams for 15 years, the largest company in Oklahoma, and the largest pipeline company in America to lead this effort. And so he can work across the aisle with Democrats, Republicans, and we're very hopeful that we can get that done this year. So he's going to be fantastic. He's sworn in, and I can't wait. He should be back home this weekend, back to Tulsa. But I thought I'd start, and I'll go through some of our wins that we've accomplished over the last 7 years. And then I'll give you some of our objectives this year in my 8th and final session. And then we can just open up to Q&A. I'd love to hear what's on your heart, what you'd like to hear more about. But if you remember, if I take you back, I can't believe it's been 8 years. Can anybody believe that? Some of you are like, yeah, we're ready to get this guy out of there. But it just, 2018, I just felt the calling to run for governor. And it was a different feel in Oklahoma. I don't know if you remember that, but we were having teacher walkouts. We were having billion-dollar budget deficits. There was no money in savings. And my wife was like, why are you wanting to do this? And I think about our founding fathers and this idea that you should be a successful business person or farmer or rancher or teacher, and you leave that to go serve your state or your country. And then you go back to the private sector. So I was super scared. But I remember speaking in here probably around 2018. And I raised my hand and I said, hey, you know, I don't know what qualifications I have, but I'm willing to go serve my state. And I looked at the resumes of the people I was running against, and I thought, you know, hey, I think I can do this. And so today I have cut taxes by $1.6 billion. We hit $5.5 billion in savings. I went from 0 to $5.5 billion. We all have to have savings and a reserve in our own personal accounts and our business accounts. We know revenue doesn't just always go up. So I have been fiscally disciplined where the legislature has been very mad at me a lot of times because I've been saying no a lot to say, hey, let's prioritize the taxpayers as well. We fully funded roads and bridges. We're top 10 in bridge conditions across the country. That hadn't happened before. As a Republican governor, I put more money in public education in my 7 years than they did for 30 years before I got there because of our business-friendly approach. And then as far as our economy, we've got a lot of business people in this room, and I believe that if we get our economy booming, it helps everybody. It helps roads and bridges, it helps education, it helps healthcare, everything when we're the most business-friendly state. So that's been a beacon and a direction that I've always pushed us. And last year was our greatest year ever as far as economic development. We had $14 billion in new investments all across the state of Oklahoma. Just huge wins. And Tulsa got really quite a bit of that. EGA, which is going to be an aluminum smelter. It's called Oklahoma Primary Aluminum, I think is the name. But it'll be a $6 billion investment. And there hasn't been one built in the U.S. in 50 years. So it is a huge deal. And if you actually have the aluminum smelter, what happens is we're going to get a lot of other aviation products, automobile manufacturing, a lot of things pop up around that primary aluminum smelter. So I think that's not only just the 1,000 direct jobs they're going to have, but I'm telling you it's going to be a huge win for the eastern part of our state. So I'm really excited for that. Big ammo company. I have a governor's scorecard that I track. Most, like a lot of business people, I'm kind of comparing ourselves to other states. And that's where I came up with this top 10. I don't think we should take second place to any other state, right? If Texas can do it, we can do it. If California can do it, we can do it. Well, there's nothing California does that we don't do better. But we have these metrics, and I'm really proud. One of them that I tracked is medium income. And we were down like in the 40s in medium income, and we've increased that $11,000 since I've been governor, and because we're attracting those companies that are paying higher wages, which is just kind of an intangible that most people don't realize, but I'm really pumped about it. And now we're top 10 in people moving to the state of Oklahoma for the first time ever. And you know what state we get most people from? California, that's exactly right. And I'll meet people, there's probably somebody in here from California. They come up to me after these meetings and they'll say, Governor, I'm from California. And I'm like, well, here's the deal. I had to wait 18 years to vote in Oklahoma. I'm going to make you wait 18 years before you vote in the state of Oklahoma. But they kind of laugh and they're like, no, we're moving here because of your pro-business, pro-family policies. And that's just so encouraging for me. And then in Texas, when I graduated from Oklahoma State, it felt like all of my friends were moving to Texas for jobs, right? And now we have more people from Texas moving back to Oklahoma than the other way around. So that's an awesome stat. We also passed I think the best education freedom plan in the entire country. And we did open transfers, the parental choice tax credit. 26,000 kids signed up for that on the very first day. And here's why I'm so passionate about that. It has to do with Tulsa. And during COVID, does anybody remember COVID? Oh, that was a beatdown, wasn't it? So during COVID, if you were governor, I'm telling you, I would have these single moms call me from Tulsa, and they would say, Governor, what am I supposed to do? They go, I live in the Tulsa School District, and Tulsa public schools are closed. And they were closed for 355 days. And my first grader is not learning how to read. And yet my neighbors in Broken Arrow and in Sand Springs and in Sapulpa are all in school. I mean, it would break your heart. They said, we have to go to work during the day, and I don't have good internet at home, and my son is getting behind. And so I really became committed to say, I don't want that to ever happen again. If, God forbid, there's another issue, and we believe in local control with our school districts, but we also believe in parents' control. And parents should be in charge of their kids' education. And so now every single family, this mom can now transfer if a school is closed down or if they're getting bullied or there's some kind of issue, they can actually transfer to another public school. Jenks Public School, Norman Public Schools. Norman's actually the #1 public school on receiving transfers right now in the state. And we also did the parental tax credit, choice tax credit. And so now every single family has up to $7,500 to go to a private school. So we believe in charter schools and more options, and that creates competition when you get more options for parents. Schools like Crossover Prep in North Tulsa are benefiting and expanding. Thank you. Expanding because of those tax credits. It's not just on the philanthropic community. Now these kids and these parents get to choose what's the best option for their kids. So I love that. And so moving on to this session. So what are our objectives this session, my last year? So I'll just kind of go through a couple things that I think if we can get across the finish line, it'll be transformational for Oklahoma. Number one is the BUILD Act. Everybody is fighting across the country talking about affordability. How do we get more houses built? How do we get more development started? And so Texas has this, Florida has this, Arizona has this, California has this, and it's basically a form of this BUILD Act. And it kind of clicked with me when I had some developers come and meet with me. If you go to Sand Springs and you're a developer and you wanted to develop a 100-lot neighborhood, you'd go to the planning commission there in Sand Springs. You'd lay out your plat. They'd tell you what to do, and they'd say, okay, we'll give you 100 water taps, right? And we'll let you cook into our city sewer. But if you went to Sand Springs and said, I'm buying 10,000 acres of land and I want to put in 20,000 water taps, what do you think Sand Springs would say to you? They're like, there's no possible way. We don't have the water. We don't have the infrastructure. You're going to have to give us $100 million to upgrade our facilities before we're going to be able to do that. Well, the developer is going to say, well, I don't even know if I'm going to sell the lots. This is a 30-year project. I can't put up $100 million up front. So what Texas has done, most people don't realize this, the Woodlands, all these big developments, Arizona, all these things have the ability for a developer to create a their own infrastructure for people that are buying in that neighborhood. So they'd put in their own water, their own utilities, et cetera, and not put that on the backs of taxpayers and these municipalities. So I think the BUILD Act is going to be a huge move if we can get that across the finish line. It'll encourage more development in Lawton and along the turnpike. I think maybe Stroud, we can bring our two cities together better if we had this ability to do bigger projects than just 100 lots at a time. And I know I'm in the weeds a little bit with you, but as governors, our form of government is a representative form of government. And it's more and more real to me because you elect people to go serve your best interest, right? And then you expect me to understand and look at the finances and understand how to move our state forward. And so I think that's really, really important that we elect people with integrity and the people that understand and have the right resumes and are doing things for the right reasons to move our state forward. There's no reason we're not a top 10 state in every single category. And I think the BUILD Act is going to continue to help us to grow and to develop. Sovereign Wealth Fund. We've got around $4 billion in savings. I'm really, really worried that the next governor is going to blow through my savings. Because the way that the way that you get kudos, I guess, at the Capitol in Oklahoma City is just spending taxpayer money. And I've already constitutionally maxed out our savings account. I can't put another dollar in our rainy day fund, okay? It's already constitutionally maxed out. So other states, Texas, North Dakota, Alaska, they have sovereign wealth funds. So I'm trying to set up a sovereign wealth fund that's going to help Oklahoma in perpetuity. And so we're going to set aside funds. We could set aside $1 billion, and that will grow over time. And then we can kick off part of that interest for the benefit of education, infrastructure, lower taxes, whatever future legislators and governors want to do. But that's another thing I'm trying to get across the finish line, because if not, the money just gets spread out like mayonnaise across the state, and it's just special projects around the state, and you don't really have anything to show for it. So that's just another thing that I'm really trying to get across the finish line. Property tax. Does anybody think their property taxes go up too much and are too high? And you wonder what in the world are they using a property tax for? Well, we do too. And there's absolutely a need for our property tax. But when you buy a house, I just hate the fact that it goes up 3 to 5% every single year. What is the counties using that money for? And do they really need it? I want the counties to be encouraged to create more development. I want more taxpayers, right? I don't want more taxes, I want more taxpayers, and we're going to encourage development. And so there's a couple different things that we're working on property tax reform that we think we can get across the finish line. One is just capping it at 1 to 3% instead of 3 to 5. So if it's a homestead exemption, it would be capped at 1%. There's initiatives out there thinking about, seniors, if you're on a fixed income, we freeze those property taxes. There's a movement to maybe say when you first buy your house, we're freezing the property taxes. So there's a lot of different things. The legislature's working through that. But the overall piece is we want to make sure that we slow the growth of government. That's my big goal. Is I don't believe government is the answer. I think we should slow the growth of government. So property taxes should get done this year. The next thing, and my team says polling on this doesn't look good, Governor. And I'm like, why not? This is common sense. This is unbelievable. And it's giving the governor the authority to appoint the superintendent of education, okay? So I don't believe politics should be involved in our education system. Did you know that as your governor, I've had no authority for the last 7 years over education? Did you know that? Isn't that crazy? If you elect let's say we're asking Bob Stoops and Barry Switzer, and we're hiring the next head football coach. We've got Venables there now, and we're wanting to win a national championship. But we tell the head coach, here's the deal though, you can't hire your own offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, or special teams coach. How will that go, right? Your special teams coach is going to be hired by the faculty or the alumni. And so that's basically what's happened in our education system. And so I want the next governor the authority to hire the superintendent of education. I got my first appointment after we had a resignation from the one that was elected, and I appointed Lyndall Fields, and the culture is changing in education. To me, that's just common sense. By the way, 36 other states do it that way. And I'm a guy, as a business guy, I'm like, if we're winning a national championship, don't change anything. But if I've got a team that's going 1-11, I want to blow up my coaching staff, right? I want to change some things. So let's give the next governor the authority to do that. And I think that's just pretty common sense. So I'm really pumped with President Trump's pick with Oklahoma's own Markwayne Mullin on immigration and to be the secretary. So I want to talk about immigration just for a second. When I think about immigration, there's broad agreement we needed strong borders, right? Trump won on that. I was there in the Biden administration, and it was disastrous. I sent troops to the southern border with Governor Abbott, and it was unbelievable. He had wire up, and literally the border agents under Biden were cutting wire to create other access points in the United States. There's already 28 ports of entry along the Texas border, and they were creating more points of entry. I mean, it was disastrous. So Trump won big time on that. And then Trump has won on, hey, we need to get criminal activity and people that are doing bad stuff out of our country. But now, and this is what I've told the president, and I think that Markwayne Mullin is going to have this type of approach as well, is let's fix immigration. As a business guy, I went down to Altus, Oklahoma, and I was talking to the folks in Altus there, and I was asking them about this issue because I believe governors need a seat at the table. And I've talked to my Democrat governor friends. We agree with this. My other Republican governor friends. Governors are closer to our workforce and agriculture. We're closer to our construction, our construction industries, our hospitality industries. Give the governors the authority to match employers with employees and issue workforce permits, right? Now we know who's here. We know who's working. And I think that's an ultimate thing that we need to get to because there are people here chasing the American dream that we need to make sure that there is we know who they are. We let the federal government vet that. But we let employers, if you're going to be chasing the American dream, contributing to the economies in Oklahoma, that's exactly what we want. I believe we're overthinking this immigration issue, and we can get this fixed. And I think President Trump is the president that can fix it. He has the credibility on the border that he can go out and he can say, we can fix this immigration policy. And I think they're going to take a little different approach there. Permitting reform, we already talked about that. Alan Armstrong is going to lead on that nationally. Oklahoma is doing an amazing job on permitting. I signed an executive order, and I told all of my regulatory agencies that if you don't have your permit done in 30 days, it's free, okay? And so that motivates them. We're going to move at the speed of business, and so that's one of the reasons we're getting a lot of looks here because people know Oklahoma is the most business-friendly state. And so, you know, my initiative, they mentioned that I was the chair of the National Governors Association, and I'll tell you, that's been a really rewarding time for me as I've got to know every single governor across the country. There's 24 Democrat governors, 26 Republican governors, and it's very collegial, like we're all friends. And I think Americans would like to see a Republican governor and a Democrat governor actually liking each other and agreeing. And I've got Governor Moores, the governor of Maryland, and we're good friends, and Governor Myers of Delaware. And what's amazing, and I think Oklahomans will find interesting, is that we agree on much more than we disagree. They agree with everything I said on immigration. They agree we have to have a strong border. They agree that we have to get bad guys out. But they also agree that we need to make a way that if a business needs an employee, that we're matching them up with a workforce permit. And so I just want to encourage you that my initiative on the National Governors Association is reigniting the American dream. And we're celebrating this year our 250th anniversary as a country. And we live in the greatest country in the world. And the idea here is that it doesn't matter who your parents are. It doesn't matter who you're born to or where you're born. And there's no such thing as equal outcomes. But we want equal opportunities. And we want to teach our young people and that next generation that you're only limited by your dreams. You're only limited by what you're willing to work hard for. And in America, when you work hard, when you take risks, when you create something of value, you should be rewarded. We know that is a free market principle that is the greatest principle in the world. And we live in the greatest country in the world. And so a lot of people talk about the American dream being dead. I don't think it is, especially in Oklahoma. In Oklahoma, we aren't waiting for the American dream. Oklahomans are achieving the American dream. We're not waiting for it to come to us. We're making it happen. And that's what I love about our state, and that's how we're teaching that next generation. So it's so fun to be with you on my 77-county tour and be all around the state. And so just thank you so much for electing me governor and trusting me for the last 8 years. And I've got one more year to get some of these last things accomplished, and then we'll hand the baton off to the next guy or gal, and I'll be back in Tulsa cheering on the next guy. So God bless you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We'll open it up to some few questions here. We've got a mic right there. Yes, sir. Jerry Dillon.
Your mother has a question.
Oh, no.
I just want to know if, when you're not governor anymore, if you'll call your mother more often.
Absolutely. I call you mother. I make a joke. I always say, did y'all watch my State of the State? And everybody, a few hands. I'm like, y'all need to go watch that. My mom says I did a really good job. And we can hand that mic around too if everybody doesn't want to.
So thanks so much for your service. So there's only 28 people who've been governor of Oklahoma before, and I don't know how many have served full 8 years, but in 2018, I'd be interested to know what you believed in strongly or thought of strongly or thought you understood about the role that 8 years in was eye-opening to you, because there are very few people in this world who've been governor of Oklahoma who know what you know now, and I'd love to hear what you know now that you didn't know then or was surprising to you as you navigated this.
Yeah, great question. You know, I would say this, and I tell this to young people. I take pictures with pages every week. So high school kids come to the Capitol, and I tell them this, the money is always on the yes side. And I didn't really fully understand it, so hang with me, because this is an important issue, important point. The Senate or House, they don't come up with all these ideas. Did you know that there's like 5,000 bills that are debated on every 2 years? It's crazy how many bills. I'm like, how in the world can you think of 5,000 new things to do every 2 years? This is crazy. This is not how it happens. How it happens is the industry, the business, the special interest group, the money's on the yes side. They write the bill, they go hand it to a legislator, and they say, run this for me, okay? And the money is always who's going to benefit. Who has the money to hire the lobbyists to go work the Capitol to say vote yes on this? Do the taxpayers, have you ever put money together and came over here and said, I want to vote no? I want you guys to go, we're going to collect money, we're going to pass the hat, and we're going to hire a lobbyist to go vote no on that. Doesn't really happen. The money's always on the yes side. That's why we get 2,000 new bills every single year filed, right? I vetoed more bills than probably any other governor in the country. Last year, I had my staff count up over the last 7 years, just appropriation bills, bills that dealt with money. Every bill that I vetoed that they overrode added up to $800 million worth of more taxpayer dollars that were spent, right? So again, that's something I did not realize. I thought the motives were going to be pure, that we were going to be voting for what's good for the taxpayer and what's good for the future of Oklahoma. But there's so much money involved. It's very, very disappointing when you see kind of behind the scenes. And it sounds like he's not from Tulsa. Are you from the UK? Okay, I got a very important geopolitical question for you. Between our two countries, when are we going to send Harry and Meghan back to the UK? I love it.
I had two thank yous and then a question for you. Again, thank you for Lindell Fields. We've already seen a huge improvement just in how things are running at the OSDE coming from Tulsa Public Schools. So thank you, and I think he's doing a great job. Also, thank you for the Dignity Index. I think one of the things that Governor Stitt has pushed for is treating each other with respect, whether or not we agree or disagree. And I think that divisiveness that we see, I think it's important, and I want to thank you for pushing less divisiveness. My question is, how do we protect, as a governor, how do you protect against federal overreach? So we've had current discussions on immigration, as well as on like election information from the state of Oklahoma. How do you protect the state of Oklahoma and our citizens from overreach from the federal government? Thank you.
Thanks. That is a fascinating question and so true. And so just a little bit of history lesson. Most of you know this, but you know our founding fathers divided up government into three parts, right? The judicial, legislative, executive branch. But they also, more importantly, divided it between the federal and the states. They actually gave the states more authority and more power. And it's these 50 different laboratories of democracy. And the problem right now is our federal elections. Everybody gets so worked up. We're so frustrated. If Kamala Harris wins, she's going to make Oklahoma like California. We don't want to be like California. And right now, Minnesota is really mad because they don't want to be like Florida or they don't want to be like Texas. And that's okay. They elect their own people there, right? And so we need to make sure that there's not a one-size-fits-all. Our founders knew it, that South Carolina was different than New York, and Maryland was different than Virginia. And we believe that the states are closer to the people. And so I've sued the Biden administration numerous times as they tried to do mandates. I don't believe we put our Constitution in the attic just because somebody in Washington, D.C. tells us to. And you saw that. You saw when they were trying to force me to do mask mandates. I was like one of the only governors in the country that refused to do a mask mandate across the state. You're welcome, by the way. And so I think that's really important. I mean, the states obviously are always has this tension with the federal government. And I sat in the Oval Office and was talking to the president. The president agrees with me. The president was like, you're right. The federal government should only be worried about defense. We can't do Medicaid right or Medicare. He goes, look at what's happening in Minnesota. They're wasting and losing all this money. Here's the solution. Here's the solution. We have a 37% federal income tax. I told the president, I said, let's take that to just 10. Whatever the number is, we'll have to do the math. Let's just take that to 10. Take the other 27 and give that to Oklahoma, California, Texas, Maryland, Minnesota. And so now we have to handle our own stuff, our own roads and our bridges, because right now 40% of the money that we use comes from the federal government. Your tax dollars in this room goes to Washington, D.C. They take their pound of flesh out of it, and then it comes back to all the states. Well, here's even a Republican caucus in Oklahoma City. Here's what the thought is. Well, it's federal dollars. Let's just bring as much as we can back. If we don't bring it back, it's going to go to Minnesota or Florida or somewhere else. So that's the mindset in all 50 states. But if Minnesota would be much more mad right now at their elected officials if that 27% was actually Minnesota's money that they just wasted on all of their, all their Medicaid programs and their child care programs, right? You see what I'm saying? Those are the kind of things that we need to get back to. And this federalism idea is really the right question because there should not be a one-size-fits-all across the country. And too much of our country is moving that direction. Maybe time for one more question if there's anybody that has one. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, hi, Governor Stitt. I am Sue Warwick. I'm a counselor therapist in Broken Arrow. But I am really concerned about the marijuana use that is so prevalent, and so I call it the potential stealer. And I don't know if there's anything else, but I'm an Okie for 72 years. So I've seen our wonderful state deteriorate in some ways with people that think it's harmless, and it's not. When I worked for the VA, they did the Boston VA did a thorough study of how it affects people, and it's very powerful these days. So I don't know, do we have any hope that there's going to be a solution to that problem? Because marijuana is not harmless.
Thank you for that. Have you listened to my State of the State?
No, sir.
Okay, go listen to that. So basically, she's not wrong. Oklahomans, right before I was elected governor, I think it was 2017, something like that, the state question was, hey, do you want marijuana, do you want to use it as a medicine? That's what we were asked as people of Oklahoma. You remember that? We thought it was a medicine, and we're a very compassionate people. We're like, well, man, I guess if it helps someone and they really need this to alleviate pain and no other pain works for them, let's give it to them, right? Did anybody in this room, with a show of hands, think that we were going to have more dispensaries than we did pharmacies? Did anybody think that was what you were voting on? 2 people did? You could see it coming, okay. Well, I think Oklahomans would like another look at that. And so on my State of the State, I said, send a question back to the people to say, let's make it maybe dispense out of pharmacies, or maybe let's reel it in a little bit, because we've been cracking down like crazy. They went to like 8,000 growers, dispensaries, and I changed some of the rules, and we got it down to like 2,000, but it's still unbelievable. We know that we are producing something like 30 times more than actually is sold legally in the state of Oklahoma. So it's a huge problem. And a lot of people think, oh, it's just like alcohol. Young people now, instead of just drinking a beer, they think that a gummy, they're doing all these kind of things, and it is a big problem. It sucks away ambition, and it is a big, big problem. So I don't even think the studies are all out yet. So I'm 100% on board. That's the legislature needs to send a vote to the people to just ask the simple question, do you want to change that rule? And I think we should do that because I agree with you. So thanks again. We're going to keep fighting, making Oklahoma top 10. God bless you guys.
Governor Stitt, thank you so much for being here today, and I appreciate the fact you've got your folks with you. That means a whole lot to me. Governor Stitt, you said something about getting state agencies to issue permits in 30 days or they pay for it. I've got a lot of friends in this room in the commercial real estate industry here in the Tulsa area. If you could work with the city of Tulsa to get building permits turned in 30 days, we would all be grateful. Thanks for all the guests you brought. Now, to close our program today, please enjoy the dynamic duo of Kelly Ford and Donald Ryan, who will send us out with the song, Oklahoma.